It looks okay, does it? Oh, yeah, right. Yes, probably still has some good.
The thing is, if it's playing, no, it shouldn't.
We've got a video going. Not a video, but a live stream.
Ah.
Okay. They're only the people that are, you're only for the, yeah, to look up for the people that are.
Yeah, I haven't got it.
You're on.
Just to let you all know that it's just about past and we're just about to go live.
Just be closer.
Did they hear me? Did you hear me? Was I clear? Was I know?
Just shouting. Right.
Just let you know you're live now.
We're live.
Yep.
Thank you.
First task always for me, lower the microphone a good 6 inches. Good morning and welcome to this, the first public Ask the Mayor event with Dr. Nick Johnson, Mayor for the Combined Authority area of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. I'm chairing this event today on behalf of our hosts, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee of the Combined Authority. It's an opportunity for the public to ask questions of the Mayor in person or online. A little more detail on each of those concepts then. The Combined Authority for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough is made up of representatives from its 7 constituent councils, Peterborough City Council, Cambridgeshire County Council, and the 5 Cambridgeshire District Councils. The Combined Authority receives funding and powers from central government to achieve a number of agreed outcomes. It works with the board, the business board and other local partners to deliver its strategic projects. The Combined Authority began operating in 2017 when residents of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough voted for its first directly elected mayor. Dr. Nick Johnson is the second person to hold that post. He was elected in May 2021 on a platform of compassion, cooperation and community. As mayor, he leads the Combined Authority, oversees spending of its devolved budget and chairs meetings of the Combined Authority board and of its Transport and Infrastructure Committee. Nick is a consultant paediatrician at Hinchingbrook Hospital and lives with his family near St Neots. I'm Councillor Lorna Dupre, a member of East Cambridgeshire District Council and a member of the new Joint Administration Leadership Team of Cambridgeshire County Council. I also chair the Overview and Scrutiny Committee of the Combined Authority. The Overview and Scrutiny Committee is hosting today's event. The role of the committee is to review or scrutinise decisions and actions taken by the Combined Authority or the Mayor. The committee consists of 14 councillors nominated on a proportional basis from each of the 7 member councils of the Combined Authority. Ask the Mayor is a relatively new concept for this Combined Authority. November last year saw the Mayor's first question time for members of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Today is the first Ask the Mayor event with questions from the public. We've received 10 pre-submitted questions for today's event. Some of our questioners are here in person at the Stories Field Centre in Eddington, and some are, technology permitting, online. Most questioners will ask their question themselves, although in a couple of cases where they cannot be with us today, the question will be read out on their behalf. I will permit each questioner to ask a supplementary question if they wish, which must be related to the matter of their original question. All in all, we have around 5 minutes for each question and answer and their supplementaries. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the first question and ask Nick Johnson to answer it.
Thank you, Councillor Dupre. This is on behalf of Nassif Nazir, who is unable to make it today. Mayor, what help is there for small businesses and any opportunities to tender for projects in the coming future? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Emily, and thank you to Asif for the question. Perhaps I should start with, unusually for a politician, an apology. In some ways, you shouldn't have to ask that question because you should perhaps already know because the Combined Authority was doing its job. I want the Combined Authority to do a better job and to make sure that you do get small businesses, you do get the opportunities to tender for projects coming in the future. Basically, business support within the CPCA region is delivered by our Growth Works programme, and that includes the region's Growth Hub. The fact is, if you haven't heard about it, then that's something we have to do better. GrowthWorks is targeted to support for growth ambitious businesses across the region who want to accelerate growth and unlock their potential to scale effectively. Through the programme, we're looking to support the top 1,000 SME business leaders in the Cambridgeshire region and Peterborough region and accelerate that business. Now, there are many businesses that want to start up, entrepreneurs who are not quite there yet. And the money that we give, GrowthWorks, they have decided to invest in a growth hub which offers a wealth of fully funded support to all businesses and startups. We can support business through any stage of their development, where they are looking at employment and training options, starting up a new business, or just growing their company. Particularly on tender opportunities. I'm a local mayor. I want local communities and local businesses to thrive. The Growth Hub can specifically offer small businesses one-to-one advice on how to find and to tender for the work advertised by local organisations. Different sectors and industries have different approaches to procurement, and the Growth Hub team can offer that free, impartial advice on the approaches that businesses that they could take to tender for work. And I would encourage people to think differently. As an organisation, I'm working with a business board and indeed GrowthWorks to ensure that we look at those other businesses that previously have been forgotten about. The cooperatives. I make no bones about it. I'm a Labour and cooperative mayor. I want cooperative organisations to feel empowered to approach GrowthWorks and to approach the Combined Authority to grow, to come to us and help. There's lots of help for small businesses. And once they have completed a diagnostic and we know where the business is looking to go, we can offer that support, mentoring, online courses. So please, for those who are interested, as small businesses, there are opportunities. It is a job that we, the Combined Authority, take seriously. It's one I challenge GrowthWorks with, who are employed by the Combined Authority, to do well. They will be audited. There will be good governance about it. And as I said, one of the things when I was elected, it was important that the business board of the Combined Authority meets in public. It's transparent. We now meet in public. We're going forward. We want to work with all businesses, and their help is out there. Please come to me personally if you're not getting the response from GrowthWorks. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. The second question is from Abdul Wahab Gumrah, and I believe that's virtual, so I'm hoping that Abdul will appear on our screens imminently to ask their question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello, Abdul.
Hi, great to meet you virtually, Dr. Nick. I'm Abdul Wahab Gumrah, Regional Director for Mott MacDonald in the Cambridgeshire region. And my question is, clearly it's coming up to a year of your anniversary as Mayor for the region. What's been your highlight for the first year and what's the focus for the year ahead?
Thank you for the question, Abdul. It's one of those questions which is a bit, like maybe a softener in a job interview that allows me to kind of speak freely. And I thank you for that opportunity. And thank you for taking an interest in not just the question time, but in the Combined Authority as a whole. If I was to use one word as a highlight, I would say it would be survival. I make no bones about it that I was somewhat maybe ill prepared is not the right phrase, but in coming into the role and moving from my comfort of the NHS organisation, where I still do work 1 day a week, to then have to kind of embrace the storms and the challenges of working within local government. I think survival is the achievement. Now, any achievement is not down to just personal success. My success in survival entirely goes to a lot of people within my own organisation, but also people across, and I'm going to say something different here, across the political divide. People who have helped me and indeed mentored me to kind of support me in a role which is very much at the start of a new beginning. Look, the combined authority, in my opinion, I've tended not to make too many comments about the past, was in a terrible place. We had outward disagreement with central government. There was difficulties within the organisation. And I think as a whole, the Combined Authority Board did not seem to work with a sense of proper purpose. Going back to that phrase, survival. Well, whilst I was trying to survive, a lot of the time for me, and thank you, Councillor Dupre, for mentioning, I brought values that I strongly have held true to throughout: compassion, cooperation, and community. And I've at times felt like I was screaming in a very loud storm to try and get those values to be listened. I do believe the storm is abating. There may be greater challenges around the world which are affecting us on a daily basis. And in some ways, what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis are small beer. But if I stand by those values of compassion, cooperation, and community, I think they are the things that will continue to be the primary focus of the year ahead. There is within that following year, and there's the ongoing within my organisation, the reorganisation, the idea of embedding collective leadership, and that means not just the mayor, but the board, representatives from East Cambridgeshire, from Cambridge City, from Peterborough City, from across the board, working together to get a kind of sense of optimism, but actually meaningful, sustainable growth. We've released a new sustainable growth ambition statement. And as I said in a meeting, it's not just about the money, it's about how we improve the lives, that's the public health, how we look at how the environment is affected by growth in this region. And if we can do that together as a board, we can make real change. So that would be my primary focus for the year ahead. There's many, many things I could talk about: the statutory responsibility of transport and trying to continue the development of my claim to want to be the buses mayor. I stand by that. But so much I'd also like to do around affordable housing and, as we previously mentioned, the skills agenda. But we'll only ever succeed that through collective leadership and the idea of no longer screaming about compassion and cooperation and community, but recognising that compassion is a strength in an organisation, and that will bring us going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Abdul, you have the opportunity if you wish to ask a supplementary question. So if you have a supplementary, please do feel free to ask it now.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Nick. And I think you have shifted the dial within the region clearly with the 3 Cs focus, really. And I remember when you first started, you were talking about levelling up within the region between Peterborough and Cambridge. Are there any tangible kind of projects or opportunities that you can communicate to us in terms of how that may be achieved?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned levelling up, because when the levelling up paper was released, the day before I had an opportunity with all the other Metro mayors, Sadiq Khan, Andy Burnham, Dan Jarvis, Tracy Braben, to have a kind of personal presentation from Michael Gove. And as he was sitting there, and I thought, gosh, this seems to be taking the clothes of the Combined Authority Mayor in Cambridgeshire. There is a lot of that about in the levelling up agenda, which I see as addressing inequality. The specifics around Peterborough, there are proposals that we would do around the active travel agenda. I know I'm very keen to work with the City Council about improving the transport ask. There is something in their proposals next week which is about developing an electric bus fleet and seeing that in terms of trying to improve not just connectivity from the Peterborough City, both in the city and near to the nearby villages. And there's a constant push. There's lots of examples of the combined authority that we talk about, the Health and Care Academy based out of Peterborough City College. Well, lots of opportunities. I mean, and I would be remiss of me not to say, make sure that we continue to deliver on the ambition. And I will acknowledge this was done by the previous mayor, the ambition of delivering a University of Peterborough, which is due to take on students in the end of this year, and making sure that is the real success that Anglia Ruskin University and Ross Renton in particular have driven that project alongside with some real meaningful investment to make sure that there are educational and in terms of employment opportunities for the local area of Peterborough, and indeed making sure that Peterborough develops a real sense of place. That's one of the things that's in the 12 pillars of the Levelling Up agenda, but is actually something that I absolutely am dedicated to. We reduce inequalities by the investment for the places that need it. Hopefully that will reassure you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, Abdul, for your question. The next question is from Godson Azu, and this is a question that's to be asked in person. So I'm hoping that Godson is here to ask their question. If you wait for the microphone.
Yeah, good morning, and ladies and gentlemen. Business network, the platform of Africans living in the city of Peterborough, in Peterborough. And so was to find out to engage with the Africans kinds of businesses and opportunities as a result of the Brexit. Is able to carry these African businesses forward. Sales to shows market shares engagement African countries opportunities in Peterborough. Last time we met, in Peterborough is the capital of city. Just the local students, but the so city in the next years. Thank you.
Thank you, Godson. Can I just check on your question? Regarding, you mentioned the chief executive. Do you mean the chief executive at Anglia Ruskin University? Yeah, right. So just wanted to make sure. Well, first of all, Godson, thank you for coming in person down from Peterborough. Like the previous question, I've spent a lot of time over the year working with the various communities in Peterborough, and in truth, I have very much a soft spot, not just for Africa as a continent, but for the Africans in Peterborough, because I want to help and support you. And this is a question format where I'm giving you the answers, but can I be as bold to invite myself or invite you as well to have a further conversation after this this event, where we can link with your organisation and to work with our people from within the combined authority to kind of build on that cooperative relationship. I will come to this regarding Anglo-Ruskin University, the second question, but I think you made a phrase there in your question. We now live, for rightly or wrongly, in a post-Brexit world, and we're all being told that the UK, once we get through the challenges of our current situation in the world, there are increased opportunities for collaboration and knowledge sharing. And the government, myself, as well as local government, is wanting to build up on relationships outside of the traditional EU for those trade and investment partnerships. And I have had conversations with businesses with links with Africa during my first year. Now, we hosted in the UK, and I went to the COP26, and the African Investment Conference was also held earlier that year. That conference explored areas in which investment could help Africa's transition to a cleaner and greener growth trajectory. That is something I am absolutely wedded to within the Combined Authority. It's something that we have signed up to, and I would be looking for. That's a perfect example of working with companies with links with Africa about trying to improve cleaner and greener growth technology. So that's an immediate win-win alongside environmental benefits. But just by the benefits of trade and investment, which is mutually beneficial, but not to ourselves locally, but to Africa itself, we can work on that. And there's a sort of an environment where we can open up those new market opportunities and increase the export. You need to know, though, the Combined Authority is on your side. Again, that is for me to make sure my officers are working with you. I'm not the expert in the room here, the officers within my organization, and I am tasking them to come back to you and say, this is something we need to work on. We're being asked about it. And we have the benefit, as you say, there is a strong African link, particularly with the areas of Peterborough. So look, the Combined Authority is already following a national government's desire to facilitate UK and African trade and investment opportunities. And that includes working with UK Export Finance, working with the UK Minister for Trade and Investment, and following Lord Jerry Grimstone's statement to make the UK Africa's investment partner of choice. We're wedded to that idea, and I will again keep challenging my own organisation. I have mentioned them already. The Combined Authority does have a Growth Works programme dedicated to supporting companies interested of expanding into the UK. Again, a mutual relationship. So Growth Works is definitely a place to come. And if you've not heard about that, again, I would apologise. You should do. The companies that you are here advocating for, we can help them navigate complexities of establishing a presence in the region, and we can provide those valuable connections and efficiencies to help scaling companies grow. Hopefully, that will give you some reassurance. I will go back to, it was 32 years ago that in the middle of my medical studies, I decided I wasn't quite sure I wanted to be a doctor. Maybe there was a theme coming up there that I ended up being a politician. But I spent a year where I travelled from the north, from the very tip of Morocco all the way down to Zimbabwe, and I've travelled through Africa, and it has a very special place in my heart. And if I could be part of working together with linking the area that I'm very proud to represent with some of those countries and those communities that I discovered as a much younger man, I would take that as a great pleasure, and hopefully you'll take on the opportunity to work with me in the future. In regard to the Anglo-Ruskin University, we've obviously got a good working partnership with them. I would encourage you to get hold of Ross Renton, who is sort of leading very much on that project. It's not really for me to kind of pinpoint what exactly Anglo-Ruskin University will be offering up in terms of the courses, but I know they've got some really good, fantastic opportunities. And the idea of encouraging a sort of an international angle, specifically with Anglo-Ruskin University, that could only be the benefit to the university, and dare I say it, to the benefit of the Peterborough City and indeed our region.
Thank you very much. Godson, you are entitled, if you wish, to a supplementary question further to the question you've just asked. If you would like to do so, then do, but please could everybody make it brief, as I think we're already beginning to slightly run over our time. Do you have a supplementary question?
It's not my question, but he has been able to give a very strong overview of what I wanted to know from the mayor. But what I want to tell you is that we would like to invite you to Peterborough on the 27th of April. Okay. We have a 30-man delegation led by the Minister for Trade, Investment and Industry from Nigeria.
Oh, right, yes.
Visiting Peterborough and to interface with businesses, interface with the authorities to find out what are the mutual business links
Well, I
post
will-
Brexit for Nigeria and the city of Peterborough and the environment. So I hope
Thank you.
that you
Well,
will
hopefully,
get-
I will look at that. I definitely really want to do that. I hopefully will recount my time of my crazy experience in Lagos and Victoria Island. So hopefully there. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Our fourth question is from Jim Chisholm, who is also in the room today. So Jim, your question please for the Mayor.
Thank you. How can we shift investment from supporting road and park and ride building projects to supporting public transport such that it better supports those poor, young and old without car access, and hence also reduces carbon dioxide emissions, inequalities, and finally benefits the health of us all?
Thank you, Jim, if you don't mind, for your question. I've obviously met you outside before, and as I say, there is an element of me. I wanted to introduce myself to you because I wanted to kind of formally recognise all the work you've done in terms of promoting active travel lifestyle, cycling, and particularly the success of delivering alongside other partners the Chisholm Way. I have got an answer, but before I want to say that I think what has been achieved in Cambridge, and particularly around the Chisholm Way, to me, and it's almost an answer to your question, is exactly what I've already mentioned. 3 C's. Quite clearly, I see in what has been achieved in delivering a Chisholm Way is compassion. I've always said that if you want to get change, you start with compassion. It shows that people that you really care, and then you get the cooperation from the people, from the other agencies, and you deliver for your community. And that's kind of what I want to see the Combined Authority Board moving on with the growth, sustainable growth ambition statement. At the next board meeting, we will actually be discussing this exact question. How do we support the poor, the young, the old without car access, but also taking real pride and prioritising the reduction in CO2 emissions, reducing the inequalities that are so evident, not just in Cambridge City, but across our region. I'm a doctor. I want to see benefits, but benefits that include health as much as growth. So proposals are being made for a significant additional investment into active travel measures across Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. In addition, we await our settlement figure for the ambitious bus service improvement plan for over 156 million of investment into better buses, particularly looking at the model we are already trying over in West Huntingdonshire with a degree of significant success, I believe, around Huntingdonshire. By absolutely focusing and taking a priority around active travel, putting the money where our mouth is as the board, and also then focusing on growth and delivering on particularly the bus network, we will provide better public transport, and we will do that by working with partners. No more conflict with partners like the GCP. We are absolutely wedded to an improving public transport and active travel lifestyle. Why wouldn't I do that? I'm a medic who wants to change. I'm advocating for better public health. I'm advocating for better air quality. That is the part of what I'm trying to bring to the table, and I'm very much wedded to what the board is hopefully going to deliver, and hopefully that will reassure you.
Thank you. Jim, do you have a supplementary question for the Mayor? Okay. Thank you very much indeed. So our fifth question then is from Imogen Blackburn-Horgan, who is also in the room with us today. Imogen, wait for the mic.
Thank you. Residential areas such as Red Cross on the boundary of Addenbrooks have for years been blighted by the car journeys the hospital site generates, particularly in terms of parking, pollution, noise, and the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. How, therefore, does the Mayor propose to make good on his transport priorities in order to avoid these mistakes being replicated as CBC expands?
Thank you, Imogen. And you are right, the Mayor does have a role in this, but there are many other partners. Perhaps I should put this into context. Again, maybe it comes as a bit of apology, but I was one of those problem people. I came to this area to work exactly on the site that you describe. It is a world-class institution, the Cambridge University Health Campus, Addenbrooks, And as more and more buildings are put on there, including other businesses, AstraZeneca, we are seeing huge benefits for our area. But this is exactly the point I was trying to make about that. If we don't have growth, which is compassionate and doesn't care for the people who are being affected by the growth, then we're not doing it well. It's a very important question. And I absolutely understand the challenges associated about movement of thousands of hard-working NHS workers, scientists, developers, and also the people who just are supporting that economy. And it has got out of hand. You know, there is, the growth has not come and it hasn't been planned in the way we should have done it. The Combined Authority has come to the problem late in the day, but I absolutely recognise it. The site where I started 18 years ago, I don't work there anymore, it's a world away from when it was when I was there. So it's not something I can ignore. And it was one of the things that, to the credit of the of representatives on the area, they invited me in and said, we need your help. I want to help them. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, you acknowledge there's a problem and you really want to care about it, compassion again. And we will work closely with our colleagues at Cambridgeshire County Council and the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership to develop those strategies to enable greater active travel and sustainable transport options. Equally, we have to continue to work with Network Rail to develop and progress the construction of Cambridge South Station, which will add a very important public transport option for those visiting the site. There are regular meetings between officers of the Combined Authority with CBC, who own the site. And with regards to movements and way of finding within the campus, we're always looking for those opportunities. But there will be an absolute focus on active travel, sustainable, affordable, regular public transport. And I expect that to be a lot of buses.
Thank you, Mayor. Imogen, did you have a follow-up question?
How can our community receive cooperation and compassion from global and national local organisations impacting negatively on the neighbourhood?
In some ways, you have to, there's an element of, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, by actually talking about it and then making it into meaningful change. So I'm here for the long run. I mean it when I say it. I want to reduce the dependency on of car use, particularly going in and out of the Adam Brooks, the health campus site. But that can only happen if there is meaningful investment in public transport, working with the GCP, finding every option with central government to make sure that as people are no longer seeing it as a disadvantage, they're seeing it as a real advantage, that they can get to work regularly, frequently, and affordably onto that site. I don't think there's anything more I can say, but they will be driving values that will deliver.
Thank you very much. Our next question is virtual. So it's from Councillor Anna Bailey.
Thank you, Councillor Dupre. I hope you can all see me and hear me.
Yes.
Morning, everybody. I'm leader of East Cambridgeshire District Council and I do sit on the Combined Authority Board. And I'm asking the question on behalf of residents of East Cambridgeshire. The previous mayor had committed to delivering a pedestrian/cycle crossing of the A10 near to the BP roundabout in Ely. Will the current mayor please tell local people in and around Ely whether or not he is committed to delivering the crossing, and if so, when the feasibility work will be undertaken?
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Good morning to you. So this is a question or a challenge that's been put to me by many people. The Labour Party branch of Ely, Councillor Dupre, who sits by my side, and I've visited that site. Not to forget the Ely and District Cycling Group, who I regularly see tweeting me. I do hear your messages. So I'm very much aware of the challenges around this roundabout. And in some ways, I'm surprised it hasn't been delivered earlier. I am committed to cycling safety, active travel lifestyles, and I'm very much aware that this is something that is a hot topic across the political divide. So why don't we, I guess my answer would be, we've got to work together on this. So I am authorising Combined Authority officers to work very closely with Cambridgeshire County Council officers to identify the options and recommendations for solution delivery at this or very near to this location. There are a number of potential funding routes to consider, and I'm sure, Councillor Bailey, you are aware of in the papers that have been released for board next week, that significant tranche of funding that's been put aside to active travel funds. Something you yourself commented was often to the disadvantage of areas like East Camden District, because active travel often went for quick wins in cities such as Peterborough or Cambridge. Well, how about this? This is a perfect example for the board to work with collective leadership to put ourselves together to deliver for a project. And maybe if we get that active travel funding, this is the project I would like to support going forward. As I say, collective leadership across political divides can actually deliver this project. I was there, I saw what I thought was almost an accident on one occasion, and I do not doubt the need for this to go ahead, but I'll need the help of all the board and yourself particularly. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, thank you for that, Mayor. I'm just a bit concerned that we don't actually have any funding allocated to this scheme to date. So I'm keen to understand when money will be actually allocated. We've, as you are aware, we've had significant headroom in the budget, and it would be good to see this scheme actually coming forward. My understanding was that you were very committed to it. I did receive a phone call from the Mayor's office saying that you would be bringing it forward. So I'm just a bit surprised not to have seen it in the actual budget plans, and be keen to understand when that might happen.
So just to go through that, the board meeting is next week. We will hopefully, with the support of the collective leadership from the board, have a fund of which obviously East Camden District can bid into at the earliest opportunity. And I'm hopeful that it will come forward quickly and we can get some resolution again with the board to take it forward. I'm sure there's a kind of timeline there around when boards meet, but it's very much a project, I think, that hits the delivery of what we should be going forward through in terms of sustainable growth ambition. So it will have my support, and hopefully we can work forward as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much indeed, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bailey. Our next question is from Steve Blackburn, who is once again here in the room at Eddington. So Steve, if you would like to wait for the microphone and then ask your question to the Mayor.
Could the Mayor give one concrete example of a travel network initiative that will significantly reduce car journeys to the expanding CBC site? Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I'll probably give this shorter answer to this, but I'm happy to take any follow-up. I think, I've already mentioned it actually, the most significant intervention in my view is the construction of the Cambridge South Station, which, particularly when it's combined with integrated sustainable transport connectivity to and from it, will significantly reduce the amount of car journeys in and out of the campus.
That was indeed brief. Mr. Blackburn, do you have a supplementary question? No. Okay, thank you very much indeed. So our next questioner, again in the room, is Ingrid Horgan. So Ingrid, if you would like to wait for the microphone and ask your question of the Mayor, please.
Thank you. Addenbrook's existing site has a piecemeal and disjointed approach to 25 years of expansion, particularly with regards to managing the visits it generates from patients, visitors, staff, and contractors. For example, charging for parking has had an unintentional consequence of pushing cars onto local streets. Therefore, how will the Mayor ensure this failed approach is rectified and not repeated in the new CBC vision for 30 years of development?
Thank you, Ingrid, and I apologise now that there may be an element of repetition from what I've already said on two similar questions. I think it's fair to say that I'm well aware of the problems on the CBC site, and by taking the time to come and speak publicly and question me, I commend you for doing that, because it highlights the need for us to work collaboratively with the partners such as County Council and the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership to actually learn from those lessons of growth, which in itself has not always been positive in many ways, but also quite destructive for the people who are in the local areas. As I said earlier to the previous question, I think Cambridge South Station will make hopefully a very big difference. And again, with the work I have done personally alongside the team at the Greater Cambridgeshire Partnership, and some real meaningful investment in terms of an enhanced bus network that in itself may make an improvement. I'll be honest, it's not really, I can't make comments and I can't affect the decision to charge for parking on site at the Addenbrooke site. I know it's a real contentious one for the staff there. In fact, you could argue that, but it's often been said that during the COVID pandemic, parking was free for NHS staff. It's not something that's within my remit, but I understand how parking can have, and the charging for it can have negative effects on people. And I'm sorry that that's the case for yourselves. I guess I should just finish by reiterating the point. We all have a responsibility here. Going back to the previous question about it, a real focus on the compassion and thinking about the decisions we make and how they affect everybody. And I will, charge both myself and my organisation to work with partners like the County Council and GCP, and indeed the people on the healthcare campus, to actually not make ongoing mistakes.
Thank you. Ingrid, did you have a supplementary question?
I do. So our area has a main thoroughfare through to the Addenbrooks and CBC site, and the whole community have got behind active travel. They've worked with CamCycle, CamSite, RNIB, Living Streets, and many other groups to encourage green up and make our streets and pavements safe. Yet pedestrians and cyclists are constantly telling us that they're in danger by training and tidal traffic for the NHS and CB site. So we wondered how we could help them to have safer streets and cleaner air.
I'm slightly fear I may be repeating myself. All I can say that as trying to show leadership as the mayor, but also with the board as a whole, we are committed now to trying to promote increased active travel lifestyle. We are absolutely committed to try and move away from a reliance on the car. Just to make this clear, I'm more than happy for people to own cars, to use cars, but we have to kind of get the balance right. And at the moment, we are failing to do that, not just in Cambridge City, we're doing that across the United Kingdom. So coming up to these sorts of events, talking about my drive to improve opportunities for active travel, making the investment and the proposals that the Active Travel Lifestyle Fund within the Combined Authority, which will be enhanced, to developing, working with, campaigners like Mr. Chisholm about working to try and the City Council in Cambridge per se, to keep delivering on infrastructure. That means that it becomes almost unusual in the case of Cambridge, the health campus, to use a car, when actually why would you, when you've got perfectly good, affordable public transport or active travel options?
Thank you very much indeed. Our last two questions will be virtual questions. The first one is from Paul Sullivan.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the slight delay in getting through the technology. I'll switch my camera on. I'm Paul Sullivan from the British Business Bank. Our focus is on access to finance for small businesses, and I would like to ask the Mayor for his views on the challenges that small businesses face locally in accessing the funding they need, whether it be to start up, to scale, or to grow.
I don't think I'm really, in regard to the business, but the British Business Bank, and I'm sorry I've not met you before. So your question, it says about specifically about the funding, and I think often the question or the challenge is that there's probably never enough of it, and obviously when there is some, we have to go through a process of competition. I guess that goes back to an organisation I've already mentioned within who are tasked with helping small businesses in the local area. That's GrowthWorks and the GrowthWorks program and our Growth Hub. So they do speak to business leaders and they startup founders from across the region. There are advisors who do take the time to try and understand those barriers to growth, particularly issues around funding. And we also know that there's some significant challenges there about access to skilled workers, access to growth funding and productivity. There are programs that we provide, but for me, it goes back to that initial thing, is that we need to really embrace our small businesses, the entrepreneurs that are in the local area. We are an area full on innovation, and where we can work with organisations maybe like your own or more established mechanisms, we need to be mindful that in the local area we have the opportunity of angel investors. But I've always said, and I use every time when I'm on a public platform to say that when we're looking for that funding, what I'm looking for, yes, the organisation using devolved funds from central government, we will help people where we can, and we will keep being challenged, and I'll keep asking GrowthWorks to do more. But it also maybe is other organisations to kind of come on board with the ambition of the Combined Authority, and using those values, that those people who come with an idea that they really want to grow, start with compassion, just look, care, nurture those small businesses, help them in the early stages, and you will get the cooperation, you will get the growth that means where big business and banks have invested, and that will start delivering for our community. It is not my area of expertise. I'm honest enough to admit that, you know, I've never been in the situation where I've had to start up a business. And I look to the specialists within my own organisation, maybe organisations like your own, to kind of work with us going forward. It's our job. Let me help work with you.
Thank you. Paul, did you have a supplementary question for the Mayor?
I didn't know, thank you. But I do work very closely with the guys in the Growth Hub and the GrowthWorks team. So we do have a very much a joint approach to this. But thank you for your time.
Good to know that GrowthWorks and the Growth Hub have been in contact with you. Maybe when time we'll meet in person.
Yeah, I look
Thank you
forward to
very
that.
much indeed. Our final question then has been submitted by Councillor Bill Hunt, but it's being asked, I believe, on his behalf by Councillor Lisa Stubbs. So we'll wait for Lisa Stubbs to join us online. Are we getting Councillor Stubbs online? If not, then we have Councillor Stubbs online, I believe now.
Here we are. Good morning. Can you see and hear me? Good morning. Good morning.
The floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much. Good to meet you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to attend today and ask a question. I'm an East Cambridgeshire District Councillor. I represent the Streatham Ward, which encompasses the villages of Little Thetford, Streatham, Wolverton and Witchford. And the question I asked today was actually submitted by my colleague, Councillor Bill Hunt, who offers his apologies as he's unable to attend this morning. Mr. Mayor, you'll be aware of the very successful Ely Zipper bus that was introduced through the cooperation of County Council and East Cambs District Council in 2014. And that serves the Hadnam and Wolverton villages with Ely and Lancaster Way Business Park, which is home to over 85 businesses and provides hundreds of jobs for the area. My question is regarding the introduction of a Ely Zipper 2 to serve Sutton to Ely, which I was really pleased to hear you talk so much and so passionately about buses. So the question that Bill had submitted was regarding the bus service. He sent you an email on the 28th of October asking for a meeting to expand the other villages, and I believe he sent you proposed timetables. The meeting hasn't taken place, and then on the 13th of December at the opening of the Soham railway station, he spoke with you and asked for another meeting. That one hasn't taken place either. So he, in his question, he says he knows you're a busy man, but over 4 months is a long time to sort of wait for a meeting to talk about improving services to our residents. So what we'd like to know is actually, could we offer an invitation to join us on the Ely Zipper, have a little tour around the area and see the benefits of the current Zipper, and that way you may be sort of be able to commit yourself to helping us introduce an Ely Zipper too.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stubbs. Yes, is the answer. I have already, on several occasions, gone out as the mayor to services which have been challenged. I am very supportive of public transport, the options for opportunities for bus routes to be developed or enhanced. I am aware of both the Ely Zipper as it stops outside the offices of the mayor, and I know about the proposal for Ely Zipper 2. I mean, the narrative of the question, I would, it's not necessarily my clear recollection, but I haven't had the benefit of seeing a similar sort of question before the meeting. I did speak to my team. Now, I'm the first to admit, a bit like I said, always ask the experts. There's something about experts, and we have many experts within the Combined Authority, one of whom is a bus specialist. And I know there have been, in the past, quite exhaustive and discussions about improving these services between Sutton and Whichford. But it's also about the bigger picture here. And I'm more than happy to come and ride on the Zipper. I would suggest it's best done in the company of the specialists, actually the team that work around developing the bus services. So the sooner the better, really. I'm very mindful that the route that you're talking about is covered by a commercially providing bus service route. That's the Stagecoach 39, and there's been other suggestions of extending the route through Ely down to Tesco. I think it's something that we should be looking at. But for me, when I look at trying to improve the bus network as a whole, it's not just about small little snippets, it's about the bigger picture and full connectivity. So much of the route that's been highlighted in Charlotte the Zipper is around obviously Ely to Sutton, but we've also got to think about the Fenland community of March. So in answer to the question, I think the question was, will you come on the bus? You'll always find this mayor on a bus, so yes, please. I will ideally do that sooner rather than later, but in the company of my bus specialist team. And if that isn't convenient in a timeline that's acceptable to you, I'm sure that we can do that linking up virtually sooner rather than later. I know I've got space in my diary, maybe next week, and then let's work on that.
Thank you. Supplementary question for the mayor.
Yes, please. You mentioned next week, Mr. Mayor. So could we look at maybe Thursday I'm not too sure what your availability is, but if we could do sort of Thursday, what time would you be free?
Generally, it's not easy to do something without your diary in front of us, but I will certainly take that Thursday as a possibility, and I'll try and get my team to get back to you sooner rather than later.
Will you be in the office on Thursday?
Check. I'm going to get the Zipper, but I would also need to make sure that I've got the bus specialist team around me as well.
We don't
We
mind.
need to do the diary management offline. Thank you very much, Councillor Stubbs, for your question. Thank you very much, Mayor. So we've now reached the end of this first public Ask the Mayor event. Scrutiny and accountability are important parts of the democratic process, and this has been an opportunity for residents of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough to engage with the combined authority and be part of holding the Mayor to account. I'd like to thank the members of the public who've submitted questions today, whether in person here in Eddington or online. I'd like to thank Mayor Nick Johnson for answering them, and I'd like to thank the staff at the Combined Authority who've organised and facilitated today's event, along with staff in this building. I look forward very much to the next Ask the Mayor event and wish everyone the very best for the rest of your day and the weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.